Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Ross. I'm a volunteer with the Ottawa branch of the National Association of Federal Retirees. I'd like to begin by recognizing that the Ottawa branch is located on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We extend our respect to all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples for their valuable past, present, and future contributions. For the branch, I'm pleased to welcome you to today's nutrition session called Pills. I want to give a warm welcome to our presenter, Hélène Charlebois from HCNutrition. Hélène has presented multiple great nutrition webinars for our members in the past few years. She's back this morning to teach us all about vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and other kinds of supplements, and to discuss when we should use them in a healthy daily routine. Thank you for being with us this morning, Hélène. I want to give you a special welcome to anybody here who's not yet a member of the association. We hope these webinars will inspire you to join us. And to our members, we hope that these webinars will encourage you to maintain your membership. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A box, and Hélène will be able to answer them at the end of the presentation. That's all for me, so I'll pass it over to you. Hélène, thank you.
Merci, Sean. Bonjour tout le monde. Oui, je suis bilingue, but the webinar today will be in English. So welcome. Pills and potions. I think just researching for this webinar, I'm even more confused now. So as you know, there's a lot of information on the internet about what's going on and about supplements. But hopefully at the end of the day, I will go through some definitions and hopefully the confusion will be a little less. And I have clients on a regular basis. I have new clients, and there's a lot of vitamin cocktailing out there, meaning, you know, you just take whatever. And I usually ask people, like, why are you taking that? And they said, oh, well, because I give some to my dog. So I figure it's good for me. And I'm like, what? Or my neighbor told me. So there's a lot of confusion and what the definitions are in Canada. So we're going to learn about multiple things: vitamins, minerals, proteins. I've got some slides about that. We are going to talk about creatine because it was in the Globe and Mail and there's a lot of research. What's a postbiotic? That's kind of new, but I'll talk about that. How do we fortify foods in Canada, fiber, and much more. And like Sean said, s'il vous plaît, les questions à la fin or in the chat boxes for the questions. So I am local here in Ottawa, but I do speak across Canada. I've spoken internationally. And July 1st, as of 2023, you are covered through your public service for the services of a registered dietitian. So yay, finally. Let me just move. Oh, sorry there. You guys, I could see you in the way here. What happened? I'm not sharing anymore?
You're still sharing, Hélène. We can see your screen.
Okay, well, I cannot. So I need to make you guys minimal. Okay. So we all know, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. We all know that. And that was Socrates back in, I'm not sure when. So we'll talk about that as well, about food and what the supplements and what's the difference. So I would like everybody, pen and paper, please. So think about your own food intake, your exercise, your nutrition, what's going on with your diet right now. And I want you to write two things, well, four things, but two things that you want to do less of. So if you're eating too many, I don't know, fried foods or Uber Eats, do you want to do less of that? And two things you want to do more of. So if you're not having, if you're not eating enough fruit or whatever. So I want you to really think and write those down. And we're going to revisit these questions at the end after I present. Okay? So two things you want to do less of and two things you want to do more of. Okay? A couple minutes to think about that. I know the more of will be exercise for most people because that's what most people want to do, especially spring has sprung, hopefully. It's coming, but April showers are coming as well. So food for thought. What's the difference between eating versus nourishment. And I think that's important because we eat foods which provide the nutrients. We don't eat macros and micros. We eat foods. And I think people get confused at that. And we need those nutrition in our foods to feed our bodies. And then what we don't get enough of, we can always use as a supplement, but I will talk about that. So there's a difference between that. And that's the vitamin cocktailers that I'm talking to. It's your best, nothing replaces a healthy diet because the pharmaceutical industry does try to get supplements that match. And even look at breast milk, we can't duplicate it. They're trying, but they can't duplicate it. So Mother Nature knows best kind of thing. And then we supplement if we need to. Okay, so we do eat foods and not nutrients. Well, we do. We eat our nutrients through the foods that we eat. So just for registered dietitian, it's always food first. So going to school, my training, always my messaging, my life is eat as close to the farm as possible. That's my message. So 2 to 3 fruit every day. Sounds easy. Half your plate vegetables at lunch, half your plate vegetables at supper. Sounds easy, not easy. Protein quantity, quality, and the distribution, which we'll be talking about today. Carbs, fiber, more fiber, more fiber. There's a big talk trend in 2025 is fiber. And then those little extras like your birthday and Christmas and those extras. But we're going to, because my training is always food first. Okay. So when we talk about supplements, it's more of an add-on is what registered dietitians is our food philosophy. And I wanted to talk about the new, well, it's not so new anymore, the food guide, which is now 6 years old. So bien manger, bien vivre. What I like about the food guide is that it's very visual now, and we can see the protein, a quarter of your plate. And they've also put the dairy within the protein, as before the dairy had their own food category, not anymore. The grains, I like they all put whole grains there. And then the fruits and vegetables, half the plate. The only problem I have with this is that we don't usually mix fruits and vegetables at meals, but you get kind of the drift. So this is, if everybody just ate like that in Canada, which looks pretty simple, but we were just talking about the tariffs that are coming are going to affect fruits and vegetables because most of our fruits, especially our vegetables, will come from the US. So we're just talking about frozen, maybe canned, we have to go to, but it will be affected. And we could see that already, right, post-COVID and things like that, that lettuces and celery and, broccoli was at $7 or $8 at one point. So fresh fruits and vegetables will be affected. But our grains will probably go down, I would imagine. Our eggs, our dairy products, because our quotas will not be going to the US and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see in the food industry what's going to happen. So what is the difference between processed and ultra processed? And I think this is very important when you're looking at dietary supplements. So processed, foods that are processed, for example, take a piece of wheat. You can't eat a piece of wheat. You can't go and pick a piece of wheat and eat it. You have to process it. So many foods are processed because we need to get the nutrients out. For example, flax. You need to grind the flax seed to get the nutrients inside because our bodies do not digest that outer layer. Ultra processed are the things that are man-made. So those are the bars, shakes, fruit roll-ups, things like that. Okay, so c'est des aliments transformés et ultra transformés. And we hear a lot of that in the news right now. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood between the two. Okay, so we do need, like yogurt is processed because it has to be, right? To pasteurize our milk, it's processing, but it makes it safer for us. So there is some things that we need to process, but then now we're talking, there's a lot of ultra processed foods as well. The definition, foods for thought, let's dig in. So like I said, registered dietitians, food first. So look at the brain here. And all I have is fruits and vegetables up there. And many people, say, oh, you dietitians, always fruits and vegetables, fruits and vegetables. Well, look, I mean, brain health, especially at our age, right? We need those fruits and vegetables. So eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, 2 to 3 fruit every day, half your plate vegetables at lunch and half your plate vegetables at supper. I don't care if it's a couple cherry tomatoes and a few pieces of cucumber. Okay, it's as long as you're making an effort to put some vegetables on your plate. Protein, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the processed proteins and the ultra processed. The good fats, we always, and I'm sure you've heard it in the news, good fats, the omega-3s. Right now, linoleic acid and omega-6s are in the news. and fiber carbs, and basically is eat your plants. Foods first, again, so that was only when we look at supplementation or natural vitamins and minerals. So if you look at the vitamin Bs, there's your meats, fishes, cereals, because what we're going to talk about food fortification, but B vitamins are fortified in our wheat in Canada. You'll notice your vitamin A not only in carrots, but it comes in meats and most of the animal products. And you'll notice the vitamin D is not highly available through foods. That's why we do have to supplement, and we'll talk about that. So it's not only fruits and vegetables. We do need to talk about proteins and, of course, fiber that goes with that. Again, if you look at like the milk, okay, we've got calcium, vitamin B2, B5, B12, because we add the B vitamins, and they're naturally found in milk, but we do add vitamin D, as you well know, and vitamin A in milk. That's food fortification. And so you'll see here again, oysters is where you get your zinc. So different, that's why a variety of fruits and vegetables and a variety in your diet is always best. Okay, and we'll go through these separately. So a big controversy is, can we get enough of our vitamins and minerals with food alone? Oh, our soil isn't healthy enough anymore. We hear a lot about that on the news. But you know, bottom line is, if you eat healthy, and we know the blue zone people, we know the people who live a long time, eat the fruits and vegetables, and it comes from the earth, okay? So it's all about the nutrients that we feed in our bodies, and they come through foods. Dietitians, we need to look at what's research and what's to support it, and we'll talk about that. So dietary supplements. In the news, fake news, misinformation. There's a lot of information out there. Right now, not collagen, creatine is very much researched. And I was reading an article, it's probably one of the most researched amino acids or proteins in the world is creatine. So there's really good information coming out. And, you know, do they really work? Some of these things, like you have to take massive amounts, you know, and we'll talk about turmeric. You have to take a lot every day for months for it to have that effect. Not saying not to take it, but we need to be realistic. Why I put deficiencies in that stop sign is that first we need to see, are you deficient? Now, it's very important to work with your doctor. Iron deficiency can be in young women who are menstruating, and also in older men and women, because iron tends to bind to different nutrients. It binds to a different medication. So your doctor should be checking your iron. And sometimes we have very high iron, especially with people with diabetes. And your B12 and things like that. Your calcium should be checked, your bone densities and things like that. Remember that we eat foods and not nutrients, okay? And get assessed. I think that's very important. All right, so what's the definition of a supplement to the diet or a dietary supplement? Grass, generally regarded as safe. That's kind of the word in North America, in the US as well, grass, we call it grass. Generally regarded as safe. Is it going to damage you? Probably not. Why do we take a supplement? For many reasons, right? General health. You just want to be healthy, and you heard that you need to take your vitamin D, vitamin D3, of course. Enhanced performance, and that's where, you know, the creatine may come in, or the proteins of the world. Reduce metabolic factors. So if you have too much iron in your body, it binds to calcium, so then you might develop osteoporosis. So who knows about that, right? So we need to get this checked. Or we supplement like their vitamin D to help the absorption of calcium into the bone. But be very careful, because some, like antioxidants, for example, you're taking antioxidants, it makes your skin better, so they say. So you're taking high doses of vitamin C, or you're taking vitamin E. Well, it can reduce the effectiveness of some types of chemotherapy. So we have to be careful when we're, you know, supplementing our diet. Mother Nature put things in foods in small amounts so that if we eat a variety, we should be okay. And if you want to supplement, we can go on top of that. But be very careful if you're taking other medications, if you have other disease factors as well. So a dietary supplement is something we take by mouth, okay? And it could be a vitamin, a mineral, an herb, a spice, an amino acid, which are the proteins. So amino acids are individual acids that are linked together in a chain that form a protein, okay? So when they talk about amino acids, but they're not considered a food or a drug. So they fall into that. So they're certainly not regulated. Supplements are not regulated like a drug. And then we have our natural health products, which I'll talk about, and the Health Canada does regulate them to a certain extent. So that's why you have to be careful, right? And it's something that's added, okay, added or supplement to the diet. And if you're sufficient or missing, and sometimes people just take it because they don't even know, but they say, hey, I read it and it's supposed to be good for you. But some is good, a lot is not better. And especially with different minerals and stuff. And we're seeing a lot of eczema now, and we're not sure why in the winter months. So stay tuned on that. Ingredients in a supplement, okay? Vitamins, minerals, herbs or botanicals, amino acids, which are your protein, enzymes for digestion. Enzymes are kind of a spark that starts things in the body, okay? So enzymes are things like start digestion, for example. So you have amylase. Amylase enzyme starts the digestion of carbohydrates. Protease starts the digestion of a protein. So we have, it's a spark that starts things in the body, okay? Tissues and organs are also considered supplements. So that's collagen and extracts of these ingredients as well. So you could take extracts and put them in. And of course, a lot of this information I just Googled and got AI generated through Google. So that's why I just put that footnote on the bottom. And it comes from research out of various, well, it's AI. So it comes out of various, lots of footnotes that I could have put there. And I just didn't have room to put it all. So I just put AI generated. So they can come in different forms. You can have tablets, capsules, soft gels, powders, pills and potions pretty well, liquids and bars. But it's not a substitute for a balanced diet. And I think that's really important. And so you can't use a supplement to treat. You know, you have to talk to a healthcare professional about that. So if you have a disease state, should not be used to treat or diagnose or cure or prevent diseases. For example, in the news about the measles, and it was a Dr. Bonnie in BC said, just saying that you need the vaccine for measles, and even if you take lots of vitamin A and vitamin D and there was something else, it doesn't prevent. So people just say, well, I'll just overdose on vitamin A, it should prevent. So that was in the news just the other day. So it's not used that way, vitamins and minerals and pills and potions. So where are the vitamins? ADEK. So just remember A, D, E, K, fat soluble. Okay, and then we have the B vitamins, which are enormous. I'll talk more about B12. And there's your biotin, the B7. That's your biotin, and people, it's for hair growth and things like that. And you'll see biotin. You're seeing a lot more now because of hair growth, and it's being put in shampoos and it's being put in supplements. So B vitamins are water soluble. If you have too much of them, you will pee it out. Urinate, and the vitamin C's are also water soluble, but you only need 55 milligrams a day of vitamin C. And a lot of people are taking 500 milligrams or 1,000, which is a slow release throughout the day. If you don't need it, it'll go out in the urine. Then you've got, so those are all the vitamins. Okay. So when they talk about vitamin H, that is part of, I think it's B5. So they're all part of the vitamin A, D, E, K, B, and C. Then you have your minerals. We have a variety. Remember your grade 12 periodic tables? That's a lot of the minerals, the iodines and things like that. And then we have botanicals. So does echinacea actually prevent the common cold? Well, you have to take it enough ahead of time. And some people take it all winter for prevention. There is some good research on that. But once you have it, to start taking it, the research is not that dependable. So it's something that builds up, because you can't boost your immune system. You have to build it up, right? Ginger can be good for soothing of the stomach. Let's talk about turmeric and now soothing of the stomach. There is a lot of research being done. Brain, menstrual pain, gut, antioxidant. Turmeric seems to be the be all and end all. But look at the dose you need every day. So just to tell you, 1,000 milligrams, you know those pills for omega-3s, the fish pills? That's 1,000. Like you have to take a lot. You have to take like 2 teaspoons every day of turmeric. The problem, but if you take it a long time, like many of the Indian foods, there's turmeric in it. So they've been eating this food since they're born, right? So for the antioxidants. But if you think you're just going to take a turmeric here and there, it's not going to make an effect. And the problem with turmeric is it can harm your stomach. So some people, I had a client the other day, she was on, she was taking her turmeric every day, and then she had to start taking a antacid or a proton pump inhibitor by prescription, like an Nexium. So when we went through all her food, I said, okay, well, let's go off the turmeric for now. And let's see, because I want to take her off the proton pump inhibitor if she doesn't need it, because it reduces the acid in the stomach, and B12, calcium, iron, they all need acid to be absorbed. So then you run into other problems. So it's just good to like be realistic when you're taking some of these supplements. And then the other dietary supplements is a protein, of course. Now we're going to talk about calcium. So I just want to clear up, see on the bottom there, osteoporosis.ca and osteoporosis.foundation. I strongly recommend that you go on both these links. The .ca is per day, your calcium intake, and it also has vitamin D. It also has magnesium, protein, and vitamin K2. And then the .foundation is per week. So I like my clients to do both these questionnaires, both the questionnaires, and let me know how much calcium in each. And then I kind of take the summary of the two. Because you need about 12, at our age group, you need about 1,200 milligrams per day. But that's food and supplements combined, okay? And it's very rare. I had a new patient last week that has 1,700 milligrams dietary calcium per day, just diet. So actually we had to bring her back, because when there's too much calcium in your diet, it's got to go somewhere. Yes, you pee out more, but it will be reabsorbed in the large bowel, and then, or in the intestinal tract, it will be reabsorbed. And then where does it go? The brain puts it around the heart. So calcifies the heart. So the Women's Health Study years ago said, okay, we were having too much calcium because we weren't looking at dietary and supplements combined. So now we're saying it's 1,200 milligrams, but everything. And of course, supplements aren't as absorbed as natural, okay? And when we talk about natural calcium, we're talking about dairy products. We're talking about broccoli. We're talking about spinach. We're talking about things that are naturally found in foods. If you buy orange juice fortified with calcium, or I don't know, oat milk fortified with calcium, those are supplements, okay? So those are ultra-processed foods in reality. So approximately 300 milligrams if you're eating a calcium food. So for example, if you look at milk, you're getting like 300 milligrams, 333 milligrams for one serving. If you're looking at yogurt, if you're looking at cheeses a little bit less. So just to give you an idea, and you need like 3 to 4 servings of these food every single day to get enough calcium in your diet. It can be a problem having that much calcium containing foods, because you don't want to gain weight neither. Calcium carbonate is better absorbed than calcium citrate, but calcium carbonate needs acid in the stomach. So it depends on if you're on medication to lower your acid. And as we get older, we just naturally have less acid in our stomach. So sometimes I'll go to a citrate if it's an older woman. Depends. Again, you have to be assessed. Then with the calcium, to bring it into the bone, you need enough D3, and we don't have enough. If you do the questionnaire on osteoporosis.ca, you will not have enough D3. We don't have a big food source of D3, so you have to supplement. And we assume all Canadians are D3 deficient. So the minimal supplement, Health Canada says 800 I use every day, but all the tablets, capsules, gel, all that drops come in 1,000. So everybody should be on 1,000. Okay. Anybody over 12, anybody under 12 is 400. And then, because when we go out in the summer, we wear sunscreen. We just don't get enough vitamin D3 in our systems. Okay. So I hope everybody is not, so call to action, everybody needs to be on a D3 supplement. If you've been on my presentations before, you know that, because I have really strongly advocated for D3. K2, again, it's absorbed into, it helps the calcium get absorbed into the bone. You'll get enough because it's in animal products, or fermented foods. Are you eating sauerkraut and kefir every day? Maybe not, but in a lot of animal products. If you're vegan, we may need to supplement, but a lot of the calcium supplements now do have D3 and K2, but you don't want to go over, what is it for K2? I think it's 45 micromilligrams per day. No, 120 micromilligrams per day. Anyways, I forget what the value is, but you don't want to go over, because K2 is a fat soluble and it'll just build up in the body. So again, it's that, like, how much are we getting? But fill out the questionnaire on osteoporosis.ca, you'll see. Magnesium, that's another one that helps calcium into the bone. It's very rare when your doctor does a magnesium test of your blood that you're low. I've never seen low magnesium. But if you're getting leg cramps and things like that, if you're highly active, chances are you're taking a magnesium supplement. And the biglycinate or the glycinate is best because it's not as harsh on the stomach. If you take too much magnesium, you will have diarrhea. So that's the citrates, the oxides, those kind of. So be careful with the magnesium. And it's about no more than 400 milligrams daily. Most people, I start them at, most supplements are 165 to 180 milligrams daily. So I start them at 1. And it's best to take at bedtime because magnesium is a sleep aid. And if you take your calcium, you might as well take it at bedtime because it's a sleep aid. Okay, so those two I would take at bedtime, depending. My calcium, will I take it every day? I was thinking about that just last night. I was popping my calcium, after supper. And I said, should I be taking it today? How much calcium did I have today? And I think today I won't take it because I think I'm going to have a lot of calcium. I've already had quite a bit this morning. And so you need to just kind of calculate. And so sometimes I'll take my calcium at bed and sometimes I won't because I figured, especially if I've, gone out with my grandkids and had ice cream, which doesn't happen every day, but it does happen, right? And if you've had yogurt and this morning I've already had milk. And so it depends on how you're eating. And last night I had broccoli and tonight I'll probably finish the broccoli. So that's a high calcium. So I probably shouldn't have taken it last night, but I did. Okay, so just food for thought on calcium supplementation. Food first, do the questionnaires, and then do you need a supplement on top of that? And then are you getting enough of the supportive vitamins and minerals like D3, K2, and magnesium to help get into the bone? Something I didn't put on the slide, what leaches calcium out of the bone is carbonated beverages, things like that. Not carbonation per se, like a bubbly, but some of the byproducts of that. And it's more like pop, things like that. Vitamin D3, like I said, it is the sunshine. So I got tested many years ago. Probably 25, 30 years now. And I'm low. I'm always low. I'm always low. So you have to pay for your first. So if you ask your doctor, I want to be tested for my vitamin D, it's like $35. But if you're low, I never had to pay again because I'm chronically low. As of this year, January, I'm just 1 point above the low. What's interesting with vitamin D3 is that it's best absorbed in the gel caps or in the drops. So I switched to that just recently because I just don't absorb vitamin D. I just don't. And I'm a golfer. I'm out in the summer all the time with sunscreen. And so it depends on how you're made. I don't know. I just don't metabolize it. So if you do want to get your vitamin D3 tested, ask your doctor. I did go to the lab, and I still remember this. And I said, can you test my D3? And they said, where's your requisition? I said, well, I'm going to pay for the test. Why do I need a requisition? You still have to go get a requisition. Maybe that's changed, but geez, I thought, well, why? Now I have to go bother to the doctor who's going to charge the ministry $35 for seeing me to get a requisition so I can go pay for a blood test. Crazy, but that's the way it is. Omega-3s as well. I think this is a very, 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 very important supplement and for brain health. And there's all kinds of research coming out on dementia prevention with omega-3 D3s. If you're eating more than fatty fish 3 times a week, you probably don't need your omega-3s. Oh, sorry, I said D3, your omega-3s, but most people don't eat that often. So I take a supplement. And if I've had fish, I don't take my supplement tonight. Like I'll take it at bedtime as well, my omega-3, because I find I burp fish all day if I take it in the morning. So, you assess. Did I have a tuna salad sandwich for lunch? Yes. So I won't take my capsule that night. If I haven't had it, then I take it. So, but do some research on that. And, omega-3s they're not harmful in any way. So why not? We're not finding anything negative. That's like vitamin D3. D3, you have to take over 30,000 units a day for it to become a problem, a metabolic problem. Some people are taking 4,000 or 5,000, but I would get checked first. And then if you only need 1,000 or so, because there's some vitamin D3 in milk, there's some vitamin D3 in other things as well, right? So if your vitamin D level's okay in the blood, then you probably only need 1,000. If you're a person that stays indoors, maybe 2,000. But omega-3s, there's never anything negative. So if you do want to start supplements, go ahead. Okay. DHA, EPA, you see that middle button there? That's the amount you need. Those are the brain and the heart. 1030, okay. 600 milligrams to 900 milligrams. So when you take your most omega-3s are 1,000 milligram capsules. So you got to look at the back and look at DHA, EPA, add them together per capsule. And this is your golden number. You want 600 to 900 every day. So I had a supplement the other day. It was total was like 300. So I had to take 2 to 3 every day. So they were on sale, but it's not worth the sale. Okay. B12. So very important. Over the age of 50, we don't absorb it as well. The dosage, it's the blue icon there in the middle, 1,200 micromilligrams per day. It needs stomach acid to be absorbed. So that's why you'll see a lot of the B12 sublingual. So it dissolves in your mouth, so it's better absorbed. Get tested. Over the age of 50, your doctor will probably do it just on a regular basis every time you get your blood work. Dissolvable is best. The stomach acid, age 50. And the sources, of course, it's animal products because B12 is the center of the hemoglobin, which is the red blood cell. So you need to have blood present. So that's why if you're a vegan, we certainly recommend that you take a B12 either injection or you take a B12 supplement every day. So this is important, again, to be tested as well, but I'm sure your doctor does that. Proteins, we're going to talk about that. Where's the meat? Now, of course, now we're talking more plant-based. So protein, if you look at Health Canada, they recommend 0.8 grams per kilogram body weight. And that's your actual body weight. Not if you're like, I don't know, 300 pounds or 150 kilograms and you want to be 100. So you go by the 150 kind of thing. Okay. But then you're getting really high doses, but I'll show you another slide in a minute. So the absorbability right now is the distribution. So there's a lot of information on protein. We just don't distribute it properly. So we need 20 to 30 grams or so per meal. And then 5 to 10 grams if you're having a snack. So in North America right now, it's 5 grams at breakfast, 15 grams at lunch, and 60 at supper. So we need to distribute. So call to action for everybody. You're going to need to look at your protein at your meals and see where is it too high, where is it too low, and we're going to need to distribute it. That's very important as we age for muscle building and maintaining. Very, very important. But for the seasoned adult, so that our age group, we're looking at even higher than this. Now we're looking at 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram. So if you want to know how much you get per meal, it's 0.4 grams per kilogram. So if you're like 90 kilograms times 0.4, you're going to need 36 grams at every meal. So that's important. Okay. So just take your kilograms, take your pounds, divide by 2.2, gives you your kilograms, and then times 0.4. So that's how you should be distributing throughout your meals. And I can't stress that enough, is that we need, because if you're a bigger person, you can metabolize protein better. So you will be higher than the 35 grams sometimes, but it's the distribution. And there's a variety of sources, and my next slide, I'll be talking about that. Okay. So I encourage you, call to action, to do that and calculate how much you need and refigure your distribution. So where is the protein today? We do have a lot of functional foods, which are highly processed. They're in beverages and bars and shakes, but there are highly or ultra processed. But see in the blue there, like, how do you get this much protein? Especially somebody like me that, you know, I'm smaller and not gain weight when I need all that calcium. I need my vitamin D. I need this. I need that. I need all my fiber. Now I need my protein. Like, it gets exhausting, right? So that's why sometimes we do go to the ultra processed foods. When we're looking at protein powders or things that are added, it's usually a protein of whey, which is a dairy, protein of casein, which is a dairy, or pea or vega or vegetable protein. So we'll get like TVP, which is textured vegetable protein. It could be soy-based. Oh, I could put soy in there as well. So there's different protein sources, but leucine, which is one of those amino acids that I talked about that form the chain link, leucine is the best absorbed from muscle, and it happens to be very high in weight. So the dairy products did not, the dairy distributors did not do this research. This is independent research. It just happens, whey happens to be the best absorbed, and it happens to be high in dairy. let's talk about collagen, shall we? So research, it doesn't support that it does much. So lots of women are taking it for their skin. We do start losing our collagen in our late 20s and early 30s. Imagine. So what does collagen do? Well, collagen is the wall of each cell in your body. That's why we start getting wrinkles, because as we age, the cell walls just break down. So the premise is, well, let's have more collagen, but it's made in the body. So if you take collagen by mouth, okay, it gets digested. So believe me, if I would love the research to be there, doesn't mean it's not yet. We just haven't found it, because some people taking it say, it's made my skin better. There is some research on nails. There is some research, it does make your nails better, but the hair and the skin, not a lot supporting it. But do you stop taking it? Well, look at the last orange one, the protein. It's 8 to 10 grams of protein, and most people put it in their coffee. So hey, and most people don't get enough protein at breakfast. So why not? I didn't see any side effects of this. I don't like the taste of it, and I know everybody says it's tasteless. I've tried a gazillion amounts of it, and I just can taste it, so I don't take it. But why not? Put it, and that counts for your protein at breakfast, so why not? But just to be clear, the research does not support us. And I talked to a highly recognized dermatologist, a doctor of dermatology, and she said, nah, I wish there was anything to support it, but there's not. But now, it may be healthy for the gut microbiome. It may be healthier for your digestion. So there's not anything negative, so why not? Okay, so that's kind of like the omega-3s, right? The fish oils. Why not? There's nothing negative. Okay, so I just wanted to be clear on the supplementation of collagen, which is protein. So let's talk about creatine. Big in the news recently, Globe and Mail, the research. It's one of the most researched amino acids in the history of research, because it's allowed for Olympic athletes. They can take creatine. It's one of the only controlled substances that they are allowed to have. And it does increase muscle power, and it can maintain your muscle as we age. But if you're taking it for aerobic activity, like long distance runners, no, this is muscle building, okay? Reduces muscle stress and damage and soreness, and reduces inflammation. This is good research coming out on this. And now the new research is brain health. So, should you start taking it? Are there any negative effects? Yes. If you have kidney damage, can cause muscle cramps. So those are the side effects on the bottom. So I suggest you start slowly. So if you're a young, person, want to go to the gym and start, you can boost. You take 20 grams per day for 1 month, but watch those side effects. At our age, I would start maybe 5 grams per day, 3 grams if you're smaller, because look at the size of my muscles, not very big. So I would probably start at 3 to 5 grams per day, maybe 3 one day, 5 for a month. Go up slowly. Larger muscles can tolerate more. Go up slowly, and then, but you have to take this for the rest of your life. You can't just stop it, right? So you have to keep taking it. So these are things like any supplement, like calcium, you have to take it for the rest of your life unless you change your diet a lot. D3, you're going to have to take for the rest of your life. I would take omega-3s for the rest of my life. Creatine, yeah, it's looking like for as we age and we do want those muscles, and you will see some improvements. As long as it's not causing any of those side effects, why not? So that's what the research is telling me right now, that it's safe as long as you watch the side effects. And I would go up slowly as opposed to doing that boost, just because of our age group. And, if you don't have enough stomach acid and things like that. So that's my recommendation on creatine. Now, the natural health products is governed by Health Canada. Okay. And these are naturally occurring substances used to restore and maintain good health. Okay. So they're naturally occurring in nature, but we extract them and then put them in pill forms. So it could be a supplement, a pill, a beverage, a functional food. A functional food means that there's a claim to fame. For example, probiotics in yogurt or creatine. I don't know if they can put it now on package. Does the research, so Health Canada, this will be interesting. Can they put on a package, this is a functional food, or let's say they put it in a drink like orange juice and they add creatine. This is a functional beverage of creatine to increase muscle building? Like, will they be able to put that? Health Canada is very strict on what they can and can't put on the label because it has to be researched. For example, you'll probably see on Metamucil can reduce cholesterol and can help in weight loss because those have been proven. So these are things that the natural health products with psyllium and things like that, that depends on what. So it'll be interesting what they're going to put with creatine because that's all new research. So it's complicated, and Health Canada probably doesn't have enough people. And it doesn't, because there's natural health products that come in all the time that don't have the natural health product. There's a number. So if you want to know if Health Canada approved it, there's a natural health product number on the product. If there's no number there, it just came in, goes on the shelf. And now you can order from, Amazon, and it can come from anywhere. So you have to be very careful with these and the claims to fame that they have with these natural health products. Okay, whether it's a supplement, a food or beverage, or functional food, that's a claim to fame. Okay, the supplement food, like we're hearing a lot about the caffeine, right? Added caffeine, added this, like the Red Bulls of the world. Food fortification. Now, just to define, we have food fortification in Canada, and back in the 60s, they said, okay, we've got rickets. You know those bull legs? My Uncle Gaston had really bad bull legs. And we don't see it anymore. Although we're starting to see it again because vitamin D3 was added to dairy products back in the 60s to prevent rickets. Well, what's happening with milk today? They're not drinking it. The kids are not drinking milk. Their parents are buying, almond milk, and they're buying oat milk because they say dairy cows are bad. But we're seeing rickets again. So if you're not taking vitamin D through milk for young children, please supplement them with vitamin D drops in their food. Also mandatory here in Canada, we've got B vitamins. Like you'll notice flour, wheat products have folic acid and iron added. The folic acid, we are reassessing that because that was for birth defects and spina bifida, things like that, and cleft palate. But we're fortifying all wheat for a small amount of people. So it's only for women, and it's only that 9 months of pregnancy or pre-pregnancy and pregnancy. So because folic acid does promote cell regeneration, so it can be cancer cell regeneration. So we're reassessing, do we take the folic acid out and just make sure pregnant women take their folic acid prior? Research is still out on that. And then there's voluntary, like calcium in some common foods. For example, you can have orange juice now with calcium in it. It's regulated because so we don't get sick of a good thing. Like you can't put too much D3 in a product. Like these are mandatory, but the government really regulates it, okay? It's to prevent, it's for us to just be healthier because we have socialized medicine in Canada. We just want the masses to be healthier and grow healthier and for public health intervention. So fortification, again, folic acid, vitamin D, okay, for all Canadians. I'm going to talk a little bit, what time is it? Probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics. Very important. So we all know probiotics. Probiotics, it's in your large bowel, okay? And you're born with the probiotics that you have. They're all there. You could have, well, they're bacteria. You can have good bacteria and bad bacteria. The probiotics are the good bacteria. So outside of a fecal transplant where you take poop from somebody and put it in your large bowel, you can't change the kind of organisms you have in your bowel, but you can change the good and the bad. You could, reduce the bad and increase the good. And this is what we want to do. And this is fermented foods, the yogurts, the sauerkrauts, the kombuchas of the world. Okay. But you can't get tired of eating that all the time or taking a probiotic supplement. What are prebiotics? Well, this is what dietitians say. More fruits, more vegetables, more plant-based foods, because prebiotics feed the probiotics. So why we're having so many problems with these probiotics now, it's because ultra processed foods, right? Because all the fibers are gone, the live bacteria is gone, right? These are things that when you're eating plants, they're not digested. So they go right through the intestinal tract, they take all the vitamins out, then they get to the large bowel, and then they ferment there and feed the probiotics. So it's very important to eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, plant-based, as much as we can, okay? So those are the difference between the two. So I promote prebiotics heavily, And then do we need a supplementation of probiotics? And it depends on what you have. Like just before their session, I have a woman with high constipation. So Activia yogurt, the probiotic in Activia is for constipation. Okay. So we've isolated some probiotics for constipation, for IBS, which is your line, and for C. difficile. But other than that, we don't know which probiotic helps what disease state. There's a lot of research being done. But we do have those definite ones for now. So that's why we take, if you're going to take a probiotic per pill, make sure it's alive, or it's, they're reactivated now. They're freeze dried, reactivated in the body, and make sure that it's like got a lot of them, like 4, 5, 6. I always say 4 minimum, but 7 to 10 is good. So they're different strains. So one of them may hit what you've got. We don't know. But what are postbiotics? This is something new. I'm like, what is it? Well, it's once you eat all your plants, your prebiotics, and then it all goes in your bowel and you ferment and you have all these good things. Well, then there's byproducts, right? Like butyrate, for example. See the short chain fatty acids? We see that the more butyrate you have as a byproduct of digestion, the less obese you will be. Or did I get that the other way around? Anyways, butyrate has a big thing to do with obesity. So the people with higher butyrate are either less or more obese, or I have to check that. I will check that. But, chances are that they're eating a lot more plants. So chances are that they're, balanced diets. And you're getting enzymes, you're getting cell fragments. Well, that all gets excreted eventually. But those are the things that kind of hang out in the bowel until they get excreted. But you have to remember, we poop every day, or, twice a day or every second day, whatever your habit is. So for you to get on a probiotic, you have to do it every day because it leaves. So that's why the prebiotics is very important. Let's just feed it all the time so that it's just part of your regular diet. And then if we need a little boost here and there, we could do that. Fiber, trending. Big discussions on fiber. So I know Kellogg's, I'm going to have to check the website. I know Kellogg's.ca has a fiber website. Like you could go and do like the questionnaire. I'd have to I'll Google it and see who else has that questionnaire, but you could see how much fiber you have every day. Or you can certainly go on some of those apps now. You could take a picture of your week of all your food, and then they'll tell you how much fiber. But there's 2 different kinds, the insoluble and the soluble. So insoluble, the things that don't dissolve in water, those are the bulk fiber things like the bran, okay? The whole wheat products. They don't dissolve. Those are the things for the constipation. They go in and they go out, and that's the constipation. It helps maintain weight as well because you feel bulkier. The soluble can help you actually lose weight, but we'll get that in a minute. So that's where the wheat products come in, or the bran, like the wheat bran, the oat bran, the rices that have like a shell on top of them, legumes, of course, beans, peas, lentils, things like that. The skins of the fruits, the apples and pears, nuts and seeds. The soluble fibers, they dissolve. So they're like, like if you put ground flax in water and let it sit, it gets like jelly. Or if you put psyllium husks or Metamucil, like it gets like jelly. Well, that's to slow down your digestion. So there is some research on soluble fibers with blood sugar stability. So the more soluble fibers you have in a meal, the more your blood sugars won't spike. And then cholesterol reducing because of that gel-like, and it just gets the cholesterol and you poop it out. Helps in digestion and in weight management. If you take soluble fibers like psyllium husks before or like Metamucil before supper with a big glass of water, it gelatinizes in your stomach and you can eat up to 30% less calories. Interesting. Soluble fibers are like the oats, like oatmeal, anything gluey. So oatmeal, barley, psyllium, some sticky rices, like anything that gets gluey, those are soluble fibers. It's that glue. Nuts and seeds. So if you put nuts and seeds in water, after a while, it gets gluey. The pectin, like I said, the bananas, the apples, the citrus fruit, the pears also very high. Beans, peas, and lentils, of course, have that soluble fiber. So we do recommend adding more beans, peas, and lentils, adding more plant-based. But see the messaging here? It's, again, more fruit, more vegetables, more plant-based, more beans, peas, and lentils, more nuts, more seeds. It's always the same messaging. If you've looked all the way through this, it's always the same messaging. Interesting. just to change the subject a little bit, functional beverages, this is an exploding market. PepsiCo just bought Bobby, I think it's called, Poppy, Poppi, and out of California. And because they're taking basically bubbly, or whatever you call that, and now they're putting things in it, right? Like energy drinks have been coming on for a long time. And especially our age group, we don't want the calories. So we're looking at different things, but they are ultra processed, but like things like kombucha, right? So why not buy kombucha if you're going to buy something that's at least going to have some fermentable probiotics in it. The sports drinks. Now be very careful with sports drinks. In Canada, unless you're going to run a marathon in 40-degree weather, you don't really need hydration in all those electrolytes. If you want a little bit of that electrolyte water or something, dilute it because it can cause some muscle cramping. But unless you're going to do long activities and really sweat a lot, we don't really need it in Canada. You just need water. And we have done research on that. So the probiotic drinks of functional waters, you've already got vitamins, minerals. This area, people, is going to explode. I'm telling you. It's all over the news. I'm part of the Food Navigator, and it's out of Europe, and Asia is making like some of these functional beverages that are coming out, especially yogurts. They're putting a lot in yogurts now as a functional beverage that you could just drink and take with you, and they're adding things to it. So there's still a supplement, still ultra processed, but I mean, it's I think the wave of the future is these ready to go. That's what the Generation Z, the next gen, they just want it ready to go, drink, gone. We still want a glass of wine, a nice dinner. They just want gone. Interesting. Call to action. I'm almost done. So remember at the beginning, I asked you for two things. Look at those two things. Do you still want to do less of those two things or change it? Do you want to do more of those two things or change it? Interesting. Now we're in renewal, spring. Find your health. It is individual. So you start with your diet, your eating style, your eating times, and remember that protein distribution, your movement, right? We need to move. It could be structured exercise. It could be unstructured, just move. Sleep. It's another story altogether. Mind. There's a lot about anti-dementia now. Get those omega-3s. Your gut. Let's have a healthy gut. And remember those prebiotics. Look at on the left, all those lovely prebiotics that are there. And it is your body. And you're the one who, and I know I'm speaking to a lot of people that are probably already converted, because as you retire, you have time to research this stuff. When I have a new client that's retired, I mean, they come with a lot of questions. They know because they have time to research and to really pay attention to their health. So just to reiterate, just imagine if everybody had 2 to 3 fruit every day, and half a cup is a serving, no air, like, dense. Half your plate vegetables at lunch and half your plate vegetables at dinner. Regardless of anything else you eat, you would be healthier. Just those 3 things, but they're not easy. Okay. March is Nutrition Month, which we just finished. And Cookspiration, you can go on there and they'll make a menu for you, actually. And if you put like your criteria. But I went on it the other day to see, because it's always new. It's out of Dietitians of Canada. And like they gave me like eggs Florentine for breakfast, and all my lunches were different. Like, who eats that? I eat leftovers for lunch. I don't know, but sometimes it's unrealistic, but it can give you some good ideas and some reputable sites. Be careful where you get your nutrition information. So I'll be speaking again in June on menopause and menopause, and again in November. November is Diabetes Month in Canada, and so I'll be talking about diabetes. Thank you, merci. Oops, back. Sorry. There's some slides I put that I don't want to miss out. So thank you. If there's any questions, we do have a couple minutes. I talk fast, so feel free to, if you need something clarified, I'm here. Sean, I leave it with you.
Thank you,
Thank
Hélène.
you very much, Hélène. Actually, I'm going to pass the questions over to my colleague, Antoine.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have some questions, and also we might go a bit over time, past 11 o'clock, if that's all right with you, Hélène.
2 minutes for sure.
First question, any input about apple cider vinegar benefits?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, apple cider vinegar. Well, first of all, there's some good research coming out on that. It does help stabilize blood sugars if you take it with a meal. Some people, it's heartburn related. So you have to be careful. Although some people, like some research says no, it doesn't cause it. Some people, says yes. Something you have to do all the time. Isn't an antioxidant. I don't know enough about it. Oh, sorry, my sister calling. I don't know enough about it. I'd have to do research, but you know what? I will add that to a slide. And it depends on what you're having it for, right? It depends. And some people just always put it on their salad or their vegetables at supper, and it helps them to digest. So there's a lot of digestion and microbiome with apple cider vinegar, and certainly blood sugar stabilization if you take it with a meal.
Please tell us whether collagen is better than glucosamine chondroitin to help with symptoms of osteoarthritis.
Wow, that's a big question. Collagen does not help that.
Okay.
There's no research on that. So your chondroitin, your glucosamine, there is some research on that, but the dose is pretty high, eh? I think the dose is like 2,700. So you have to take 3 900 milligram capsules per day, or 2,400. But it's only about in 64% of the people if you're taking the MSM or the chondroitin with your glucosamine. So some people it works, some people it doesn't, and some people swear by it. But the collagen for joint pain, building, it doesn't work that way because we're digesting the collagen. It just doesn't work that way in the body.
Okay. This question, do you have any thoughts, or do you have anything on hyperimmune bovine colostrum?
Oh, the colostrum. No. Why would you take that? So colostrum is, isn't it like it's after the cow gives birth, it's the first milk that comes out, right? No, I don't have a lot. Don't have a lot on that. It's probably a protein. There's probably a lot of microbiome in it, but is that something you really want to take? I don't think there's a lot of research on that. Colostrum. See what I mean? Like this presentation it took a lot of research, and still, like in all my research, I didn't even come across that bovine colostrum. Good. All right.
Okay.
No, I
And
don't know the research on that, and it's
right.
not something that would you take every day? It's I don't know. It's from the first. I mean, I would anticipate that the calf would get the first of it
Right.
as opposed to them taking it away. Yeah.
This person asks, I have severe calf muscle cramps from time to time. Is it safe to take magnesium to lessen these cramp incidents?
Yeah. Well, first you need to check, are you on a statin? Because they can cause muscle cramping, especially in the legs and especially in the mollet. How do you say that? Mollet? The calf.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, magnesium is safe. So if you want to start like at 165, 180 milligrams a day and take it at bed and see how it goes, you can go up to 400 milligrams a day. So you could take 2 capsules and see how it goes. The side effects of too much magnesium is diarrhea. So if you start getting diarrhea, then you know you're taking too much. What works, but you have to be supervised for this, is that if you're low in magnesium, you start taking like 200 a day for a week, see if there's diarrhea. Then you take 400 for a week, then you take 600 for a week until you reach the point of diarrhea. Then you know you've saturated your body. Then you go back to the dose before and you stay on that until you get diarrhea. Then you go back. Like I had a woman, she was on like 9 pills a day at one point until she got the diarrhea. And then we titrated back and back and back and back and back and back and back. And now she's only on 1 or 2 pills a day. But she was really low in her magnesium. So, but it's not something I recommend you do without supervision of somebody. And, but you can safely go on your own up to 400 milligrams a day. And make sure it's a
Oh.
glycinate or biglycinate, which is the less harsh on the intestinal tract.
Okay, perfect. This person asks, are there supplements that are bad for kidney health, like potassium or magnesium?
Very good question. Potassium is so well regulated in our bodies. Like if you'll notice your blood work, like it's such a small window and it's so well regulated. So even if you're 0.1 above, the doctor panics. Okay, well, I had a client like 2 weeks ago, her potassium was high. So finally I said, well, what are you eating? Well, she has like a grapefruit and an orange every single day on top of tomatoes, potato, so I said, oh, okay. So it was just a matter of she was just taking too much. If you have kidney damage, you're going to look at your GFR on your blood work. So your glomerular filtration rate, the doctor will test that, and your creatinine, not creatine, creatinine levels is your kidney function. Anything that, like especially the water soluble, that gets vitamins that get excreted by the urine, calcium gets excreted by the urine. So you have to be careful. Like my mom's GFR, you should be like about 100 and over. Okay, like my mom went in kidney failure. She's okay now, but hers is like 37 to 40 at the best. So we're just happy that she's not on dialysis. She can function with that, but we don't want to put more strain on her kidneys. So I make sure her proteins distributed properly, because protein, added protein, is excreted by the kidneys. And then we look at all the water soluble vitamins, so the B's and C's, be careful with those. And there's a lot of other things. So you don't want to over stress your kidneys neither. If your GFR is lowish, then also your water intake, we don't want to stress the kidneys more. So if you're drinking 3 to 4 liters a day, too much. So usually it's 1.5 to 2 and no more if there's a problem with your kidneys.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. Can I take all my supplements at once, or is it better to spread them out over the day?
Such a good question. For example, calcium, your body only absorbs 400 to 500 milligrams at a time. So if you're eating yogurt for breakfast and then after breakfast you take your calcium supplement, oh, look at all this calcium, you're going to pee it out. So calcium, you have to take it when you're not having a dairy product or a calcium containing food. So that's why I suggest most people breakfast, there's some kind of calcium, whether you're yogurt, whether you're a cereal with milk, whether you're cheese on your toast, something. Lunch, pretty calcium based mostly, but supper isn't. So I'd move the calcium. But if you're taking iron and calcium bind. So you can't take them together. So iron in the morning, calcium at night. D3, as long as there's a bit of fat. So that's why I take my D3 with my omega, because my omega-3 fatty acid as fat. I take those at night because the fat soluble are better absorbed. Vitamin B's, they're hard on the kidneys, so don't take them on an empty stomach because you won't feel well. So I usually say after breakfast. And if you're having too much B vitamins, your urine will be really like fluorescent. You'll know.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there's food and drug interactions for sure. For sure. You have to kind of watch it.
Okay. And we have a few questions asking about the recording. So I just want to tell everyone that we will be sending out the recording of today's presentation in the follow-up email that will go out later today. And I think that's all the time we have for the questions. We do have a few others, but I would encourage them to send their questions by email to you. Again, your email will be included. Hélène's email will be included in the follow-up email that will go out later today. Okay, and I think I'll pass it back over to Sean for the end.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your participation in today's webinar. And a huge thank you to you, Hélène, for the great presentation this morning. Lots to glean from that for sure. Please look out for our follow-up email, as Antoine was mentioning, for the session recording. And remember that you can always invite non-members to attend our webinars and try out as a guest. To register for upcoming webinars, please visit the Ottawa branch website at NAFR Ottawa.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Merci.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.